Now surviving a stroke. At 5 and 6, we heard from one of our own. As some of you may know, Caroline Goggin had a stroke last October at the age of 27. As her neurologist explained, stroke in young people appears to be on the rise.
And while Caroline says her physical recovery has gone well, she warns there is an entirely different aspect of healing associated with a situation like this.
Just because I don't have a cast on my head doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. And for some people, the emotional journey back to you can be even harder than the physical one.
Tonight, Caroline introduces us to two other young stroke survivors in New England.
They share their stories of hope and persistence only on Eyewitness News.
What I've been reminded throughout my recovery is that my story of stroke as a young person is shared by people around the world, across the country, and even right here in southern New England. Over the last 4 months, I've connected with other young stroke survivors, whether it be through the power of social media or over a cup of coffee. And in January, I was lucky enough to sit down and chat with two of them.
I'm Austin Prario, I'm 22 years old, and I'm a stroke survivor.
I'm Jamie Coyle, I'm 24, and I'm a stroke survivor.
2 years separate them in age, 10 years separate their strokes. It was August of 2008 when Jamie Coyle had hers.
I was playing hockey at a hockey game, and I had just scored a goal. I came off the ice, and I had a stroke.
Only 12 years old at the time, a scared Jamie says she couldn't speak. She collapsed and was taken to the hospital.
I said, "Mom, what happened to me?" And she said, "You know, you suffered a stroke." And I was like, "Oh, that's it? Like, thank God." I thought I was like dying. And I didn't really comprehend or understand what the rest of my life would be like.
Now 24, Jamie has lived half her life as a stroke survivor. Her recovery, challenging at times. Many days filled with physical, occupational, and speech therapy.
That was definitely the scariest moment of my life.
Austin Prario has had his fair share of scary moments. He had his first stroke as a young child after being born with only 3 functioning heart chambers instead of 4. He had 3 open heart surgeries in his first 3 years of life, but his family never lost hope.
My dad said, no, my son's gonna run a marathon. He did the next year in 1998, and he carried me across the finish line.
Years later, Austin became the first person to run the Boston Marathon with a congenital heart defect. Shortly after, in June of 2018,
I went to the gym at lunch. Then I came back and I wasn't feeling great. And I just got like all tingly. I couldn't feel my left side. And I got just really nauseous. And I didn't know what to do, so I sat there. And I stayed for the rest of the day.
When Austin got home from work, he took a nap and woke up to pins and needles in his leg. When he got to the hospital, he was diagnosed with a TIA, also known as a mini stroke.
And I think the biggest thing to overcoming a stroke, I mean, for me, was the anxiety of it. Like I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything. I was just so afraid of everything in life.
It's a feeling these two share. Jamie says she still deals with anxiety and PTSD from her stroke, but she's channeled that pain into her push to raise awareness. In 2016, Jamie wrote a book called The Luckiest Girl in the World, the foreword written by another stroke survivor, former New England Patriot Teddy Bruschi. She also started an Instagram account called Stroke Survivors Never Quit, allowing other survivors like myself to share our stories.
Because I feel really lucky to have survived.
For Austin, things have come full circle. The young man born with a heart defect now works for the American Heart Association. He says his work has been therapeutic during an isolating time.
A lot of times if you have a stroke, you think you're alone, you're lost, but there are other people fighting just as hard as you did, and you can beat it.
Both Austin and Jamie prove that stroke can affect people at any age, any time, and in any shape. But that 6-letter word has not defined them. They both agree their stories are worth so much more when shared.
I want to be able to help other people. It's not about me. It's about other people that I can help and impact every day. And I think that's what's so cool about being here, being a part of this.
Austin says his doctors believe he had that mini stroke because he didn't take his baby aspirin that morning. As for Jamie, her doctor says they'll never determine the cause of her stroke. And according to the American Heart Association, the cause of ischemic stroke in 1/3 of young patients remains undetermined. I'm Caroline Goggin, Eyewitness News.
And Caroline's story continues on the web. There you'll find an extended interview with Caroline and her husband Travis detailing the day of her stroke.
Plus, learn about the signs of stroke and hear from other young stroke survivors right now on WPRI.com.
You never really think about it, somebody so young. She was a hockey player in great shape. Austin was so young to have a stroke.
I think what's so moving, though, is how far they've come and what they're doing, including Caroline,
Right.
to help others and tell them the signs and make sure people know about this.
It sheds light on the misconception that it's only an older age, and it's
Right.
not.
Yep. So Austin, you are doing a great job promoting it.